I stood in our lavish living room, the sunlight streaming through the expansive windows like a spotlight on the art pieces I had arranged meticulously for the gala. My name is Jessica Wright, 38 years old, art curator. This was supposed to be my moment, a celebration of creativity that I had worked tirelessly to pull together. Yet, as I draped the last of the fabric pieces across a chair and checked the position of the paintings on the wall, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was simply going through the motions. Mark, my husband, was in the next room, buried in the glow of his laptop. He had been consumed by work lately, as if building his empire required every ounce of his attention. I could hear the clattering of keys, the subtle sighs that punctuated his concentration. I felt more like a quiet observer in my own home, a spectator to his life, rather than a partner. I tried to catch his attention, hoping for a scrap of acknowledgement, but every time I entered the study, he barely looked up. "Mark, I need your eyes on this," I called softly, holding up a stunning oil painting I had managed to secure for the gala. It was breathtaking, with deep hues of blue and gold that danced together effortlessly. I waited, heart racing with anticipation, but instead of the excitement I hoped for, I was met only with silence. "It's a piece from that artist I mentioned last week," I added, trying to pique his interest. "That's nice, Jess," he replied absently, his gaze remaining glued to the screen. He offered nothing more before diving back into a flurry of emails and proposals, neglecting the very significance that this piece held for me. Like an anvil, the weight of his dismissal pressed down on me. For years, I had watched in silence as Mark's ambitions took center stage, with my own passion relegated to the background. The appreciation for my work felt like a distant memory. Art was not just my profession, it was part of who I was. Yet each time I ventured to share a piece of my world with Mark, he saw me as if I were a passing shadow rather than a vibrant person full of dreams and aspirations. I turned my attention back to the preparations for the gala, my mind racing but my hands steady. I was determined to make this evening count. I arranged the display with care, every brushstroke whispering a story, every frame containing memories I cherished. Yet beneath my meticulously constructed facade lay the seeds of doubt. Would anyone truly take notice this time? Would I break free from being merely Mark's boring wife? The thought sent shivers down my spine as I recalled the countless times he had dismissed my work as unworthy of his time. I felt the familiar sting of insecurity clawing at me, a gnawing reminder of every missed anniversary, every ignored exhibition. As I adjusted the position of a delicate sculpture, I caught my reflection in the glass surface of the side table. I looked strong. It was ironic how the world saw me, yet in the confines of my heart, I often questioned my worth. I had buried so much of myself beneath layers of Mark's expectations and aspirations that I wondered if I could truly shine in the limelight that was supposed to be ours. But the gala wasn't about Mark, it was about my journey, my work, my identity. I took a deep breath, drawing strength from the very art I adored. Tonight was an opportunity to reclaim the narrative of my own life and show the world, including Mark, that I was more than just an accessory to his ambitions. I felt the tide of determination swelling within me. I was not merely the woman behind the man, I was Jessica Wright, an art curator with a purpose. As I slipped into my elegant emerald gown, my heart raced with anticipation, and the familiar phrase echoed in my mind, louder than ever, "She was always there, he just never looked." Tonight, I would make him see me. The evening air buzzed with anticipation as guests filtered into the grand ballroom, adorned with exquisite art pieces and elegant decorations. This gala was supposed to be my moment, a culmination of my hard work as an art curator. Yet, standing at the entrance with a glass of champagne in hand, I felt a swell of nostalgia and apprehension. The gala wasn't just an event, it was a reflection of the journey I had taken with Mark. I recalled the initial days of our courtship when he was mesmerized by my passion for art. Those were the times he'd take me to gallery openings, a proud smile lighting his face as he introduced me as his brilliant artist girlfriend. I remember the joy seeping into my soul every time he praised my work. It made me feel like I belonged, like I mattered. But that joy had long since faded, replaced by moments of pain sharp enough to cut through the veneer of our relationship. Long gone were the days when he would show interest in my world. Those early echoes of admiration were now drowned out by dismissive remarks. Whenever I shared my excitement about an exhibit or a new artist, he often brushed it off as boring or unworthy of his time, a complete disregard for my passion. Letting those moments fester had woven a tapestry of insecurity around my heart. I watched as Mark mingled with other elites, his easy confidence mingling with their chatter, completely oblivious to my presence. The more I tried to engage with him, the more my own brilliance seemed to dim. Flashbacks of missed anniversaries and forgotten dinners haunted me. Like the time I made a candle-lit dinner for his promotion, only to find him arriving home late, takeout in hand and oblivious to my carefully laid plans. Those nights had chipped away at my self-worth, piece by little piece. But tonight wouldn't be like that. Tonight, I would reclaim my place, not as someone standing in the shadows, but as a vibrant curator, Jessica Wright. As I moved through the ballroom, decorated with the art I had arranged with love, a wave of determination surged up within me. I would no longer be just Mark's wife. I was the artist, the curator, and my identity was far too rich to be overshadowed by his ambitions. Just then, I spotted Greg Dawson across the room, his presence unmistakable. The world's most admired entrepreneur, his aura radiated charisma and confidence, effortlessly capturing the attention of everyone around him. Watching him engage with a group of guests sparked something inside me. There was a stirring anticipation. Perhaps this was my moment to shine. As I approached, I prepared to make my presence known. "Ms. Wright, isn't it?" he said with a warm smile, an expression of genuine interest that sent a thrill through me. "Yes. I'm so glad you're here to see the exhibit," I replied, my enthusiasm bubbling to the surface. His gaze held mine, and for the first time in a long while, I felt truly seen. We delved into conversation about the works on display. I animatedly described the intricacies of each piece, letting my passion take center stage. This was my world, my craft. Every word ushered me closer to reclaiming my identity, piece by piece. I could feel the warmth of his words knitting my confidence back together, the validation I had yearned for. Just as the conversation flowed seamlessly, I caught sight of Mark across the room, his expression a mixture of surprise and confusion. It was as if the walls had shifted, and suddenly, I stood out, not just as Mark's accessory, but as a woman of substance engaging in meaningful dialogue. Greg leaned closer, his interest genuine. "Your knowledge of art is impressive. I'd love to collaborate on a project sometime," he said, a suggestion that sent a flutter of excitement through me. However, from the corner of my eye, I could see Mark's frown deepen at this exchange. I wondered if he had ever considered the power of my voice or the depth of my understanding. As my conversation with Greg continued, the focus shifted more toward me. The energy in the room reverberated with newfound possibilities, and my past insecurities began to fade. "That piece over there? It symbolizes resilience," I proclaimed, gesturing toward an artwork I had painstakingly curated. I could almost feel Mark's gaze hardening as he witnessed this confident version of me emerge. His presence, once a shadow looming over my every move, now fanned the flames of my assertiveness. In that moment, I grasped the reality, the dichotomy between who I was and who Mark believed me to be could no longer contain me. I was no longer an observer in my own life. When the art spoke of resilience, I felt I could embody it. The echoes of memories filled the gallery, and suddenly I felt anchored in my purpose, bursting with a sense of agency I had once thought lost to me. In Greg's eyes, I saw a reflection of myself that had been overshadowed for far too long. The familiar phrase whispered in my mind once again, "She was always there, he just never looked." This gala would mark a turning point, not just for my career, but for reclaiming my identity and voice. Tonight, I was ready for recognition. Tonight, I was stepping out of the shadows, prepared to show everyone, including Mark, the brilliance that had always been part of me. As Greg continued to engage me in conversation, I felt a rush of exhilaration, a feeling I hadn't experienced in what felt like an eternity. He asked thoughtful questions about the art displayed, genuinely interested in my insights. Each moment I spent discussing the pieces made me feel alive, like I was awakening to my true self again. But through it all, I could sense Mark watching from the periphery, his expression a mix of surprise and something darker. Mark's frown deepened as he stood off to the side, tension radiating from him like heat. The way he shifted from foot to foot spoke of discomfort, the discomfort of realizing that his wife was not merely an echo of his ambitions but a vibrant individual in her own right. Just as I was lost in the thrill of my own voice, Mark approached us, his demeanor carrying an air of apprehension. "Hey, can I borrow you for a moment?" he asked, attempting casualness but failing to disguise the urgency behind his words. "Of course," I replied, curiosity mingling with a twinge of anxiety. This was the moment I had been preparing for, the chance to confront what had remained unspoken between us for so long. As we stepped away from Greg, I kept my resolve firm. "What's going on, Mark?" I pressed, feeling the weight of expectation settle heavily between us. "You've been distant all night." He hesitated for a moment, searching for the right words. "I didn't realize you had become so independent," he finally said, his voice lower, almost sheepish. "I mean, it's amazing. I just didn't expect." "Didn't expect what?" I interrupted, my heart racing with both frustration and urgency. "That I could hold my own? That I could step outside your shadow?" Mark's eyes narrowed with an emotion I couldn't quite decipher. "It's not that," he replied, shaking his head. "It's just, this world can be tough. I've always wanted to protect you from that." "Protect me?" I echoed, disbelief spilling over into my words. "Or keep me beneath you? Did you think I'd be happy being just your wife while my own dreams went unnoticed?" His silence felt like confirmation, a painful acknowledgement of my fears. Bitterness surged within me, fueled by years of holding back my voice for the sake of his ambitions. "I feel like an afterthought, Mark. How could you think I wouldn't want more?" "I never meant to take you for granted," he said at last, his tone softening. "I got so swept up in my own life that I forgot about yours." "Your life? What about mine?" I pressed, my emotions raw and exposed. "This isn't just a simple conversation, it's my whole existence we're talking about. I've spent enough time waiting for you to notice me, to acknowledge my work. I deserve better." His expression shifted, and for a brief moment, I saw understanding flicker in his eyes. "What do you need from me, Jessica?" His voice barely rose above the chatter of the gala, a question laced with both vulnerability and hesitance. "I want you to see me, really see me," I replied, my voice trembling slightly. "I want us to stand together, not as separate entities, but as partners. I want you to support me, just as I've supported you." Mark's brow furrowed as he absorbed my words. "I want that too," he said, sincerity creeping into his voice. "I just didn't realize how far apart we'd grown. I thought life was fine as long as we were together." "But you can't think that way anymore," I urged, the urgency of my plea filling the air around us. "I can't be merely an extension of your life. I need to be me, to reclaim my identity and assert myself." He took a deep breath, clearly grappling with the weight of my revelation. In that moment, I realized I was not just fighting for my dreams but also attempting to bring a reckoning to our marriage. It was painful yet necessary, both for my sake and his. "Jessica," he said at last, his voice steadying. "I've admired you for who you've been. I just didn't know how to reconcile that with the ambition I saw taking shape in front of me tonight." There was a tension released in his tone, as if a dam was cracking. "Maybe we need to redefine what that means for us," I suggested tentatively, feeling a glimmer of hope. "I want us to inspire each other, instead of casting shadows." "I can't promise I'll be perfect," he admitted, looking me in the eye, his vulnerability clear. "But I will definitely try." "It's a start," I replied, that familiar warmth beginning to blossom in my chest. It was a fragile yet hopeful light, a flicker of recognition that perhaps we could find a way back to each other. When I returned to Greg and the other guests, my heart raced, fueled by the conversation we'd just had. I could feel a shift in the energy of the night, an awakening of dreams that had long been stifled. Tonight was not only about showcasing my work, it was about resurrecting my spirit, reclaiming the narrative of my own life. As the conversations flowed around me, I became increasingly aware of Mark watching, a newfound determination in his expression. I could hardly believe the man I had yelled at could be the same person standing silently beside me, learning how to see me again. For the first time, I felt supported, not overshadowed, and the night was just beginning. This was my journey, and I was ready to embrace it, art, love, and all. With the night unfolding around me like a painted canvas, the energy in the ballroom pulsed with excitement and chatter, yet I felt a quiet determination settling in my core. Each conversation I engaged in shifted my perspective, turning what once felt like a solitary endeavor into a shared journey. Mark's presence ignited something new within me. No longer was I bound by the weight of expectations but rather soaring with the winds of possibility. I glided through clusters of guests, sharing insights about the art pieces, my passion echoing in my voice. Even Greg, who had initially piqued my interest, stood back intermittently to let me shine, a warm smile on his face as he observed my transformation. The guests responded with enthusiasm, their genuine curiosity making me feel seen for the first time in years. I was not merely Mark's partner, I was Jessica Wright, an art curator with my own story to tell. In one particularly vibrant exchange about a sculpture that represented freedom, I noticed Mark approaching again, his expression shifting from pride to apprehension as he drew closer. "You really know how to capture an audience," he remarked, genuine admiration threading through his words. "Thanks, but it's easier when I'm not competing for attention," I replied lightly, but the truth lay heavy beneath my levity. He acknowledged my point with a nod, the gravity of our earlier conversation lingering in the air. "I've been thinking," he began, his voice compelling and earnest. "About what we discussed. I really want to understand your vision more." My heart fluttered at his words. "It would mean a lot, Mark. I want us to be in this together, supporting one another's aspirations. Don't let me just fade into the background." "I don't want that either," he replied quickly, sincerity etched on his face. "Let me help. I'd love to hear your thoughts on expanding the exhibit later this year. Maybe I could bring in some investors who might align with your vision." My breath caught in my throat, astonished by the unexpected lifeline. "That would be incredible," I responded, feeling my heart swell with hope. "It's a collaboration, then? Us working together?" "Yes," he affirmed, his smile widening. "A partnership in every sense." As the gravity of our commitment began to settle, something shifted between us. It was as if a bridge was being built right there in the middle of the bustling Gala, reconnecting paths that had become disjointed over time. This was the start of something new, a renewed chapter waiting to be written. Just as the realization wrapped around us, the lights dimmed slightly, capturing the guests' attention as a hush descended over the room. The gala's host stepped up to the microphone. "Thank you all for being here tonight. We have a special presentation lined up, an unveiling that highlights the journey of art from its conception to the very moments of inspiration." The moment felt monumental, and all eyes were trained on the stage as a large curtain hung over what remained hidden. My heart raced. Was my work part of this unveiling? It felt surreal, the possibilities swirling in my mind. Mark's hand brushed against mine, a grounding reminder of his presence. "Let's see what they have in store," he whispered close to my ear, his breath warm against my skin. The curtain was drawn back to reveal a series of my curations. The audience gasped as vibrant art emerged, each piece a manifestation of my passion, showcasing the very spirit I had spent years cultivating. My heart soared as I watched the expressions of awe spread across the crowd, the excitement racing like wildfire. "Those are your curation pieces. They look incredible," Mark exclaimed, genuine enthusiasm bursting forth. "I can't believe this," I breathed, my heart swelling as I stepped closer to the exhibit. Each brushstroke, Every lingering glance from the audience acted as an affirmation that all of my hard work had not gone unnoticed. As the host began narrating the story behind each piece, I could feel the pride swelling within me, a pride not just for the art itself but for the journey I had taken to get there. With every line spoke of resilience and creativity, my dreams unfolded in vibrant colors for all to see. Then the host gestured to an abstract piece symbolizing the struggles and triumphs women face, and I knew the moment was powerful. I turned to Mark, the emotions swirling inside me, a mix of joy and indignation. This piece, it's directly inspired by my experiences. He nodded, focusing intently. You created this? It's amazing, powerful. And so true. Thank you, I said, my voice breaking slightly with emotion. It's my reflection, my story. I've longed for you to see this side of me, every part. He moved closer, his eyes searching mine. I see it now, Jess. I can finally appreciate everything, all your depth and brilliance. A flush of warmth spread through me. Finally, he understood. It was like the last pieces of a puzzle falling into place. I felt lighter, filled with the experience of unveiling who I had always been beneath the layers of expectation. As the presentation continued, our fingers intertwined, tethering us amid the whirlwind of vibrant expressions surrounding us. In that moment of creation and revelation, I felt not only my identity blooming but also our connection sparking anew. The applause erupted, rippling through the crowd, affirming the very things I had fought so hard to reclaim. With every clap, I felt the shackles of doubt fall away. I turned toward Mark, who stood tall beside me, admiration and pride lighting up his expression. As the last remnants of the unveiling faded, the night stretched before us like a vast landscape of new possibilities. The reconciliation we had embarked upon breathed life into our paths, forging a bond that pulsed with both love and ambition. Let's take this journey together, he said, a promise glimmering in his eyes. Yes, I affirmed, my voice steady and unwavering. Together we will soar. And as the night drew on, I found myself ready to embrace not only my art but also the love we were rebuilding. Together, we stood at the precipice of a new narrative, one filled with creativity, understanding, and the promise of a partnership forged in strength and shared ambition. This was our journey, an embrace of art, love, and everything that lay ahead. The atmosphere of the gala hung thick with exhilaration as I processed the depth of that moment. Mark and I stepped away from the bustling crowd, the unspoken promise of our rekindled love still crackling like electricity between us. I could hardly believe how each piece of art I had showcased had served as a mirror to my journey, my struggles, my triumphs, everything unfolding in color and form for the world to see. Do you want a drink? Mark asked, gesturing toward a nearby bar. It was a simple question, yet it made my heart flutter. I had almost forgotten how unguarded and spontaneous our interactions could be. Sure, let's celebrate, I replied, unable to suppress the grin spreading across my face. As he retrieved 2 glasses of champagne, I caught a glimpse of myself in a polished surface, a woman illuminated by confidence and determination, a stark contrast to the shadows I had lived in for so long. Mark returned, handing me a glass, his fingers brushing against mine in a fleeting moment that ignited warmth throughout my body. To new beginnings, he toasted, and I echoed the sentiment, feeling the spark of our shared future nourishing something deep within me. As we lapped up our champagne, laughter and conversation enveloped us. Guests mingled and shared stories as the night unfolded, each interaction a pulse of life that vibrated throughout the gallery. Together, we stood on the cusp of something extraordinary. I could feel the anticipation swirling around us like a warm blanket. Jessica, he spoke, his voice softened by the revelrous ambience. I want to know more about your aspirations for this gallery. What are your dreams? I took a deep breath, summoning the clarity that had eluded me for so long. I want this gallery to not only showcase art but also serve as a platform for underrepresented voices. It's important that we amplify stories that deserve to be told. Mark's brow furrowed slightly in concentration. That's amazing. I can help you find the right connections, perhaps sponsors who align with those ideals. My heart leaped at his offer. "You'd do that?" I asked, surprise washing over me. I've always dreamed of creating themed exhibitions that capture the essence of various narratives. He nodded, his enthusiasm infectious. "Then let's make it happen. I want to be a part of this journey, to use my resources in a way that helps." As I felt his support wash over me like a warm tide, it became abundantly clear how far we had come. There was an openness in our conversation, a vulnerability that had cracked wide open the walls we had unknowingly built around us. I was no longer a hesitant partner, I was stepping into my power, and he was stepping up beside me. Before we could continue our discussion, the gala's host reappeared on the stage, raising the glass of champagne high. "What a night we've had," he called out, the energy in the room shifting as he prepared to announce the centerpiece of the evening, the opportunity for a live auction. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to auction off one of Jessica Wright's flagship pieces, and proceeds will go to support emerging artists." A wave of surprise surged through me, my heart raced. "What? They're auctioning my work?" I gaped, glancing up at Mark, who wore a beaming smile of pride. "Yes. You're making waves, Jess," he encouraged, the warmth of his belief nourishing me. As the spotlight landed on my piece, a breathtaking canvas depicting a powerful woman shattering chains, I realized it was not just my art anymore, it was a testament to my journey of self-discovery, a visual manifestation of resilience. The crowd buzzed with excitement, and I stepped forward to address everyone. "Thank you all," I called out, my voice resonating with newfound conviction. "This piece represents more than mere brushstrokes. It embodies the essence of overcoming struggle, a celebration of resilience in all of us." Applause erupted, sending a rush of adrenaline through my veins. I passed across the room, meeting the eyes of dear friends and intrigued onlookers, my connection with each gaze deepening, as if I were forging invisible threads of understanding. Mark stood at my side, his pride surpassing any words he could express. "You're spectacular," he whispered, leaning closer. When the bidding began, the energy in the room surged as guests raised their paddles, competing to own not just the artwork but the essence of empowerment it represented. I watched in awe, the weight of each bid sending waves of disbelief coursing through my body. To see my work honored this way, only a few months ago, I had felt invisible. The price skyrocketed, and as the final bid met a resounding stamp of approval, I felt a flush of overwhelming gratitude wash over me. Mark turned to me, the gleam in his eyes palpable. "This is just the beginning. You're meant for so much more," he said firmly. Once the auction concluded, the crowd returned to mingling, but I found myself lost in the afterglow of exhilaration. Mark led me back toward the quieter corner of the gallery, and there was something electric in how he looked at me, as if I had smashed through every ceiling that had once held me down. "Do you realize what you just accomplished?" he asked, his voice low and earnest. "I don't think I've completely absorbed it yet," I admitted, still riding the high of the moment. "It feels surreal. It's just the start of a new chapter. You've earned this." I felt the warmth of his words wrapping around me, an embrace that fortified my resolve. We stood there, heartbeats blending amid the lingering murmur of the night, every touch of his hand on my waist a reminder of how far we had come together. "That piece wasn't just about art," I said slowly, letting my thoughts form. "It encapsulated my fight for identity, for being seen. It's everything I want to convey." He nodded, taking a moment to absorb my words. "Then let's make sure you keep conveying that. We can showcase more identities, more stories, create a wave of change." His enthusiasm ignited a fire within me, each word a building block for an empire we could construct together, a world where our aspirations intertwined and flourished. "Mark," I urged, meeting his eyes firmly. "Let's find a way to bring art and change into our lives. Let's fight against complacency." He wrapped his arms around me, anchored amidst the chaos of our surroundings. "Yes. Partner in everything." In that moment, I felt a sense of hope cascading through me, my spirit intertwining seamlessly with his in the vast possibilities spreading before us. Under the brilliance of gallery lights, I realized that I was finally carving my own path, stepping boldly into a brand new story, one where courage and conviction soared, and I could hold my head high alongside the man who was rediscovering me every step of the way. Together, we moved forward into the uncharted territory of our lives, and I knew we were ready to embrace it all, the art, the love, and the bold adventure that awaited. The night stretched before us, full of promise, and I was ready. As the night deepened into a tapestry of luminous stars and laughter, I could feel our resolve solidifying into something tangible. The conversations around us ebbed and flowed, but within our little cocoon, it felt as though time had frozen, our shared dreams sparking like shooting stars in the darkness. "Let's take a walk outside," Mark suggested, slipping his hand into mine. The feeling of his warmth enveloped me, a gentle reminder that I was no longer alone in this journey. We wove our way through throngs of guests until we found a quiet terrace overlooking the city, the twinkling lights below mirroring my racing heart. Once we stepped outside, the cool night air was a refreshing embrace, pulling me away from the whirlwind of the gala. The distant sounds of the celebration faded, leaving only the soft rustle of leaves and the occasional hum of passing cars. "Isn't it beautiful?" I marveled, gesturing toward the sprawling city beneath us, the horizon painted in hues of gold and navy. "It feels like we're on the brink of something monumental." Mark turned his gaze to the skyline, a thoughtful expression on his face. "It really is," he replied, pausing as if weighing the right words. "You know, it's easy to forget everything that's possible when you're stuck in a routine." I nodded, understanding too well the tension of complacency. "I want to create opportunities for others who feel the same way. We need to shine a light on those stories, especially underrepresented voices." "Exactly," he agreed, his eyes brightening with enthusiasm. "Imagine an exhibition that not only showcases art but invites artists from diverse backgrounds to share their journeys through their work. We could do community outreach programs and workshops." His ideas flowed freely, igniting my imagination. The thought of opening doors for artists who had been marginalized stirred my soul like a sweet melody. I can already envision it, workshops highlighting their processes, discussions encouraging vulnerability, and collaborations bringing people together. "Yes. And we can partner with schools and local organizations to create a bridge between art and community," Mark elaborated, his passion fueling my own. "Art has the power to transcend and heal. It's a dialogue, and I want to help amplify those voices." We stood at the edge of the terrace, united by the electric undercurrent of our shared ambition. I could feel the anticipation in my chest, each potential for connection a thread weaving us into a larger narrative of change. Suddenly, I felt the weight of our discussion shift. "But, Mark," I began tentatively, "we have to ensure that this isn't just a project. It has to come from a place of genuine desire to make change, not just a desire for recognition or a career boost." His expression turned serious, understanding the gravity of my words. "I promise you, this is personal for me too. I want to do this not just because you've inspired me, but because it matters." I searched his eyes, searching for assurance. What I found was sincerity, an earnest commitment to reframe our future together, not solely in ambition, but in purpose. We can't lose sight of what art represents, it's about connection. "Then let's keep that connection at the heart of everything we do," he vowed, an intensity underlying his voice. "I want this to be a safe place, a sanctuary for growth and expression. We'll build a foundation, and let it grow from there." With each exchange, I felt chains I never knew I had been carrying shatter one by one. Together, we were crafting an existence far removed from the shadows of a complacent life. My heart swelled with gratitude for this moment of clarity, this rare alignment of purpose. "Okay, so what's our first step?" I asked, excitement buzzing in my veins. "Let's sketch out a proposal," he proposed, his eyes gleaming with determination. "We can start by outlining our vision, mission, and the artists we'd like to reach out to. Then we can brainstorm funding strategies, grants that align with our ideals." Yes. And we should also consider a launch event to build momentum, something to capture the energy and vision behind our mission. Absolutely. We'll make it an experience rather than just an exhibition, a celebration of creativity and diversity. We leaned against the railing, detail after detail unfurling in a pulse of ideas, each one feeding off the other. As we spoke, the night deepened, and the stars above twinkled down on us, as if in approval of our shared ambitions. Then I paused, the weight of a deeper thought settling over me. Mark, what if we stumbled? What if our plans didn't succeed as we envisioned? He turned to me, and the warmth in his eyes ignited a flicker of courage within me. We'll adapt. Change is often messy, unpredictable, but that's part of the journey. Success isn't the absence of failure, it's the courage to keep creating despite it. A hush fell over me, the truth resonating within my soul. Fears of inadequacy released their grip, leaving space for a powerful resolve to fill their lugar. I know it won't be easy, I conceded, but I'm ready to try. With you by my side, I finally feel I can take the risk. With his arms both a refuge and a grounding force, Mark stepped closer, enveloping me in his embrace. Together, we'll embrace every challenge with bold hearts. We won't just create art, we'll build a legacy. In that moment, as I closed my eyes, I breathed deeply, letting his words wash through me. It felt as if I was standing on the precipice of a renewed existence, a life colored with vibrant intention and bold dreams. The night carried on, the world beyond us a swirling sea of possibility. Under the blanket of stars, I felt emboldened, not just as an artist or a partner, but as a woman ready to claim her life. With Mark beside me, we would chart a course into uncharted territories, living our truth with every brushstroke and heartbeat. As we lingered there, the future lay wide open, shimmering with all the potential we were just beginning to grasp. We were ready to create, to share art, love, and healing, and together, we would illuminate the world. As the last guests began to drift away, the energy of the gala lingered like the distant notes of a fading melody. The buzz of conversation transformed into quieter exchanges, the gallery slowly emptying, yet I felt more alive than ever. The evening had not only showcased my work but had sparked a profound connection, an awakening of dreams, art, and possibilities. Let's make our first steps concrete, I suggested, adrenaline coursing through me. How about we meet up tomorrow to draft our proposal? Mark beamed at me, the corners of his eyes crinkling with enthusiasm. Absolutely. Let's do it here at the gallery. The vibe feels right. Yes. I'll compile examples of community outreach programs I've researched. Excitement bubbled in my chest as the potential of our collaboration unfurled within me. Re-entering the gallery filled with people recounting their favorite pieces, I felt renewed purpose rushing through me. Each encounter sparked ideas, fueling the vision we were about to manifest. I spotted familiar faces, a nod from an artist friend, a compliment from a mentor. Their warmth enveloped me and reassured me that I had carved a space for myself. Do you need a ride home, Jess? Greg asked, his voice cutting through my observations. Yes, that would be great, I replied, gratitude washing over me. As we started to walk outside, I wavered between sharing my plans with him but ultimately opted against it. Some changes remain sacred until they fully bloom. Tonight was incredible, Greg remarked as we approached his car, his gaze drifting back to the gallery's twinkling lights. You really brought life to your work. Thanks. It means a lot to hear that, I said, reflecting on all the hurdles I had overcome. I'm ready to keep pushing forward. You've transformed so much. I admire it, he said earnestly, sparking a mix of emotions within me. Our conversation meandered as we drove through familiar streets, and I felt pangs of nostalgia. Although our past had held complexities, the understanding and growth between us was palpable. As we arrived at my apartment, I felt a weight lift as I stepped onto the soft carpet, the sanctuary where I could dream and create. Stay safe, Jess, Greg said before I exited. You're doing amazing things. Keep that fire alive. I will, I assured him, feeling gratitude for the path we had shared. As I closed the door behind me, the noise of the world outside faded, leaving me enveloped in the tranquil cocoon of my thoughts. Sinking onto my couch, I pulled out my notebook, the keeper of my ideas, hopes, and aspirations. With a pen in hand, I began to draft our vision. My heart raced as each word materialized into concepts that felt transformative, workshops to inspire artists, community outreach, and collaborations that would amplify the voices of the unheard. Every stroke of the pen ignited the flame of passion within me. My thoughts whirled, an exhibition not just of art, but of storytelling and connection. I envisioned diverse artists coming together, sharing experiences that resonated with others, fostering compassion and understanding, and I wanted to be at the center of it all. With each passing minute, I released my anxieties onto the pages, letting them dissipate like fog under the morning sun. Tomorrow, I whispered to myself, will bring this passion to life. These words were a promise, a commitment to facing the uncertainties ahead with courage and integrity. Finally, laying my pen down, I glanced around the room, absorbing the serenity of the space that had sheltered my dreams and vulnerabilities. The night outside felt rich with potential, every star a reminder that I was not only an artist but also a change agent, ready to infuse the world with love and creativity. As I dimmed the lights, the warmth of determination settled in my chest. I knew I was on the brink of something monumental, not simply for myself, but for the entire community of artists yearning to be seen and celebrated. With Mark by my side, I was ready to navigate uncharted waters, turning dreams into reality and art into a platform for healing. Tomorrow would be just the beginning, and together, we would paint a legacy built on passion, unity, and the transformative power of art.